Hi, creators, and welcome back to the Zen channel. Today, I want to take a different approach, go a little bit more personal, and tell you about whether or not I would still start a business in 2026, given the state of affairs in the world today. I'm making this video because I've been thinking about my current business for the last couple of months, where it's going, how easy it is to get clients, what else I can do to grow the business. I had a whole entire video scripted about what I would do to get my first 5 clients if I were starting a wellness business today. And in talking about that topic, it made me realize that I don't really know if I would start a wellness business in 2026. I think in order to start a successful business online, there are certain things that you need to have. Otherwise, it just feels like you are swimming upstream, and it almost feels like no amount of effort that you put in is going to give you the results that you think you could have. And I don't really know if this is a personal failure or if this is just how hard business is nowadays. I don't want to sound negative. I don't want to make you rethink whether or not this is for you. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. This doesn't need to happen to you necessarily. This is just my journey and what I've been observing with my clients, with myself as well. It might turn out differently for you, and I really do hope it turns out differently. But I would say that the first thing that you want to keep in mind when you are starting your own business, whether it be a wellness business, a brick and mortar business, whatever type of business that you are starting, just keep in mind that it will require so much of you. You really do have to be extremely passionate about what it is that you are doing. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. This type of endeavor requires so much. And the strange part is that you are going to be overworked, whether you are making millions of dollars or whether you are making nothing. What I've realized about building a business, especially online, is that you just need to put in so much work, from the content to building an audience to showing up every single day. And all of this requires so much of your time and energy. And we haven't even gotten to the part where you are actually giving the service that you started your entire business around, because it really does take that much effort. And at least in my own experience, I've realized that unless you are extremely entertaining, unless you are very charismatic and you want to be posting almost all the time, it's going to be very, very difficult to grow your business. Even if you are good at what you do, even if you are excellent at what you do, in our case, we are really good at branding. And if you don't believe me, you can go check our website. You can check the past projects that we have worked on. And we are also very good at client relationships. We've worked with the same clients for many, many years, and they trust us. They like working with us. We're very responsive. But all of that has nothing to do with continuing to grow the business. Yet again, you do have to create a ton of content. And in our case, what worked really, really well for a very long time was Pinterest. We were getting a lot of clients from Pinterest, but unfortunately, they changed something in their algorithm at the beginning of 2026, and our views have kind of plummeted. And because I didn't spend enough time building all these other social channels, well, the pipeline kind of dried up. Even though we have a newsletter, even though I do have the YouTube channel, as you can see, it's not getting many views. Even though I have a TikTok that is also not growing fast enough, even though we post on Instagram as well, all of these channels are just not enough to bring in consistent clients and keep us consistently working to, again, grow the business. And that can be extremely demoralizing, especially if you started a business because of the service that you love to give. In our case, it's branding. In our case, it was connecting with business owners to grow their brands, to build their websites, to help them with their visual identity. And then you look around you, and all of a sudden, you have to do so much marketing in order to just put your business in front of the right customers. And again, I'm not complaining. I understand these are the rules of the game, but I just find that in the last couple of years, the game has changed so much. It requires so much of you that I think if I were to start again today, I would think about my journey a lot differently. First of all, if I were to start a wellness business or any other online business today, I would set aside at least 6 to 12 months of capital to be able to get me through that initial first phase, because you are not guaranteed to be having any clients at the beginning of your journey. And not only will you have to find those very first few clients, you're also going to have to build the assets necessary to present your business to the world to be able to attract those clients. You need a website, you need to be on social media, you need to pick a platform that you want to be on. And all of these things, again, they require a lot of time and energy. And you can't just hope that you will fill your business by simply having people that believe in you, or by simply having the people that you know refer you to other people that may need your services. That is going to dry up rather quickly. And especially if you are building a business that requires a lot of turnover, that requires a large audience in order to be sustained. I would say that before I even launched the business, I would spend 1 to 2 years building an audience. And then and only then, once I had a good audience that know, trust, and like me, that's when I would introduce my service to the world and I would actually launch my business. But without that, it's going to be very difficult, especially in the beginning. It's going to be really quiet and you're going to be building all of these things by yourself. And you can very quickly start wondering, what is it that you're doing wrong? Because you're looking at the effort that you're putting in and it's just not exponential to the results that you are getting. I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying this as a checklist for what you should be building before you actually launch that dream business of yours. So again, I would either have the capital set aside, or I would wait to build my audience while I'm working a full-time job so that I don't have to worry necessarily about money in the very first few months of launching that business. And until I reach maybe, I don't know, 10,000 to 20,000, you don't have to be like a massive influencer to launch your business. You can be a nano influencer, I would say, or like a nano content creator. Usually, if your audience is engaged and they love you, then that's usually enough to get you going and to help you in those first initial stages of launching your business. The second thing that I would do is, if you didn't build an audience, then I would focus all of my attention on building that audience. I would spend my time getting good at creating content. I would spend my time getting good at speaking on camera, because ultimately that is the thing that will make the biggest difference in how fast your business grows. So, unless you have crazy connections, you will have to build an audience from scratch. And the way you build that audience is by learning how to speak about your expertise, about your product or service, and then speaking to as many people as possible. Obviously, we live in a world now where we have all of these different platforms where we can reach a wider audience. But in my experience with my clients and even for myself, it is very difficult to start and be really, really good at it from the beginning. Some people are naturals and they can do that very easily, but most people are not, myself included. And so you really need to take the time to work up that muscle. And not only that, not only do you need to get good at speaking on camera, you also need to get over your fear of being seen. I find that, especially if you're a perfectionist like myself, it's going to be very difficult in the first few months to be able to be authentically yourself on camera, because you want to be polished. You want to show up the best side of you, right? Just as you would do in your service, you want to show up professional and you want to give it your best. It's the same thing when you're creating content. And I think that the stakes are lower when maybe you don't have a business, because at the end of the day, you can post and nothing can hurt you because it won't affect your business. But I feel like when you do have a business and you are creating content, you want to be as polished as possible, because at the end of the day, it's your livelihood that you're talking about. So that is the next thing I would do. I would focus all of my attention on creating content and on getting good at speaking and at producing this content that you will have to continue producing for the entire life of your business. And I find this to be true for all client facing small businesses nowadays. Unless you have a ton of funding and you can just focus on growing with ads, then you really do need to create this content in order to attract an audience and be able to grow your business. So that's the second thing that I would do. I would focus all of my attention on getting good at creating content. And the third thing that I would do, I would only focus my attention on one or two channels. When you look online, you get the advice that you have to be everywhere. You have to be on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. You have to have an email newsletter. You have to have a Substack. You have to create your own blog. And while all of these have their own merit, it's just unsustainable to do all of that in the first year of your business. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to be successful when we are launching an online business. And I don't know if this is because we feel like it's not tangible otherwise. If you were to open a brick and mortar business, then it's there and people can see it and they believe you when you tell them that you have the business. But when you say that you have an online business, most people tend to kind of overlook your progress. I know that even for me, my parents to this day, they don't even believe that I have an online business, even though it's been years and I've worked with hundreds of clients by now. They still they don't see it. So therefore it doesn't exist. And I think a lot of people have that misconception. So that makes us want to again be perfect from the get-go, to want to have clients from the very start. And so we create all of this content and we want to be everywhere so that we tell the world, so that we show the world that like, hey, I'm here and I'm doing the thing, I'm doing this. But I think that that's just unsustainable, especially if you are a solopreneur. In my case, it's me and Amanda. So we are two people working in the business. And still, even then, I don't feel like we have enough time to do everything that we want to do. And now we even have AI tools at our disposal, and still it's not enough. So this is why it's imperative that you start small, that you start with one or two channels. I would say just one channel. Grow that until it's at a point where you can have a pipeline and your clients are coming in periodically. You don't always have to have a full wait list or anything like that, but as long as clients come in periodically, then you've done a good job and you can move on to the next channel. And I also realized that when you build a business, you have to have ungodly amounts of patience, because again, results are not going to show up fast, and you have to keep the vision and you have to keep pushing forward, even when everything tells you that what you are doing is just not enough and it's not getting the attention that you think it deserves. So if we were to recap, these are the things that I would do. I would make sure that I have enough capital for the first 6 to 12 months, or I would build an audience beforehand and I would still work my day job for 1 to 2 years until I built a sustainable audience. The second thing that I would do, I would get really good at speaking about my expertise and my service, and I would get really good at producing content. The next thing that I would do, I would focus my energy on only one channel. And for me particularly, I think I should have started this YouTube channel at the same time that I started my business. And then finally, the last thing that I would do is I would hire out. If I can't hire, then I would work with people that could help me, that were just as invested in what I'm creating as I am. Because, just like I mentioned the previous point, there's just so many things that you have to do when you are building an online business, and you just simply cannot do it all alone. And not only can you not do it all alone because it's a Herculean task to do all of these different things at once, keep in mind that you don't know how to do many of these things. So there is sometimes a steep learning curve, sometimes a not so steep learning curve, but you will still have to invest the time it takes to learn the different platforms that you are creating content for, the different ways that you are running your business. Remember that you're doing this for the very first time. So it's not going to come as easy as we would like to believe. Not only don't you have the time to do all of these things by yourself, because you first of all have to learn it, have to master it, and then actually have to do it, but if you don't have patience and if you don't really have that drive and that vision to keep going, it can become incredibly lonely to build a business. Because unlike a workplace where you are with other people that share a common goal, your business is just you. So you have to motivate yourself to do everything that you need to do, and you have to do that every single day. If you have a bad day, there's no one to really turn to talk about your bad day with. There's no one to come and save you. You have to save yourself. And most of the people that you talk to, most of your friends and family that still have a regular job, simply won't understand what you are going through. They won't understand, and they won't even really know to ask you how you're doing, because they're having their experience and they think that you're having the same experience. So they won't really bother checking in on you necessarily. So I would say, if you can, try to find people that you can work with from the get go. Try to find 2 or 3 people that can help you grow this business. And remember that there's power in numbers. So the more people that you have working towards that same common goal, the faster you will get there. So there you go, creators. I really hope this list helps you. These are the 4 things that I would do if I were starting my business again in 2026. And I'll be honest with you, even if it's so hard, it always feels like an upward climb. I don't think that I would do anything different. I often sit and ask myself if I should keep going with this, because sometimes it just feels like it's not working. But then I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, what else would I rather do? And I always come back to the same answer. And maybe it's a sunken cost fallacy talking, but I've invested so much in my business that I'm just simply unwilling to let it go. So put a comment below if you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.